Welcome back to my channel Word Steps. In today's video, I share another interview with a mum of an almost 7 years old girl with selective mutism. I'm Anna Biavati-Smith, speech and language therapist, and I share my passion for selective mutism and communication. Don't forget to subscribe as I post every week. Kelly in this interview really tells us her story. Her girl has always been told to be really shy, not being able to speak, but yeah, she will grow out of it. But Kelly knew that there was something more than just shyness. She met a set of twins in the same school, and they were going through the same thing, and the name selective mutism popped out. And that is when she thought, bingo, I think I'm in the right track. Her story is amazing and very, very different. And remember also to keep tuned until the end, because we will be telling you something exciting about the very first Selective Mutism Summit that is going to happen, the very first one, and you'll get all the details at the end, but also some other details just in the description below. Here is the interview with Kelly. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about your child.
I'm so happy I can do this. It's so important to get people's real life experiences to help others. So I'm very thankful you reached out to me.
But it's so exciting actually to be chatting with Kelly, because her daughter that is now 7 is almost overcome selective mutism. Mm-hmm. So Kelly, tell us first of all, what did you notice at the very beginning when your daughter was that little?
So I think with a lot of the people you've spoken with too, is that at home, our daughter was a normal kid. She's crazy, she's talkative, she's silly, she's playful, all of these things, until you put her in a situation like school or her grandma's house or the playground, and all of a sudden she starts looking down and away. She doesn't make eye contact with people. She stops talking to me. She's not answering other people. And you just kind of have to go, what is going on here? This isn't the little girl I've been raising. This is a totally different child who I've never seen before. But at that time, I didn't know what was going on. So we just all chalked it up to being shy, that since I was shy and her dad was shy as a kid, that must be what's going on. So we didn't do anything about it. She started preschool just before she turned 3. She's really academic. Like, she knew her alphabet and could read words by the time she was 2. So we opted to put her in school really young. And for a year and a half, she didn't talk to a single person at school. And like red flags were going off all over, but I didn't know what they were signaling.
So when did the school say something to you?
They never did. It was me that found out about selective mutism. I was working at a pediatric office as a front desk, just answering phones. And there's a pair of twins that came in with this diagnosis of selective mutism, which I had never heard of. And I like to Google things. So I Googled it, and up popped this definition that was pretty much my daughter. It was like somebody was watching her and just wrote down her who she was. So that's how I found out about it. And then I brought it up to the teachers, and I said, I think this is what she has. They're like, oh, that sounds right. They had never heard of it either. And so I went through the process of finding the therapist and getting her started in therapy.
Wow. So then what was your next step? So what happens where you live? You have to go to a specialist?
Yeah, so I hopped over to the Selective Mutism Association's website, and they have the list of providers per state. So I clicked on our state. We had one treating professional for SM in our whole state. So I contacted her. She said, yep, sounds like SM. Let's get you in for a consult. We did that. She said, yep, your kid has SM. Let's get her in. So luckily, there was no waiting list at that time. We kind of got right in at the right time. And we started the traditional cognitive behavior therapy side of things. We would go in, she would give us a little bit of warm-up time, and then just kind of go right into trying to get my daughter to speak. And it did nothing. I mean, we were there, we did it for 11 weeks. Our daughter barely got to a whisper. And our therapist said, there's nothing else I can do. I've done everything that I can. So you have two options. You can either go at it yourself, or you could do an intensive where you go to a different state. You're there for 3 to 5 days. You kind of drop her off and she comes out of it the other side. And I'm thinking, here's a child who can barely make eye contact with people, isn't able to speak to anybody, and you want me to just drop her off and that's it. And, plus I had a 2-year-old, I was going through potty training and I was pregnant. There's no way that an intensive was going to work for us at that time. So I opted to go at it on my own.
Okay, that is so exciting. So what was then your first step? Because one of the things that I always say through my training is to work with parents and teachers in order to create the right language, so we all do the same thing. So we create that really a centered child approach. But here, this is you that you've got to do it all by yourself. And I always feel that there aren't enough professional trained in selective mutism. So this is brilliant that you said, you know what, I'm just going to go at it. I am not letting go of this.
Yeah. So the first few things I did is I got a great group of people around me. So I reached out to my daughter's school and I said, please email all of the parents on my behalf and tell them that this is what's going on with my child and that I want to have play dates with them. So I had some really, really great feedback. I had some really sweet moms reach out and say, yes, I want to help. So I would have a bunch of play dates at my house. I would practice with my daughter before they came on how to interact and what questions you could ask. And eventually she started talking to her friends. And then through that, I got my own friends because I then made all these wonderful mom friends, one of which who was an occupational therapist. And I don't know if many people know about OTs or occupational therapists, but they treat things very differently than typical psychologists. So that was the area I kind of looked at, because a lot of the issues I was having with understanding selective mutism, everybody kept telling me it's genetic. Your daughter has it because somebody in your family has anxiety. But we really don't. I mean, yeah, we were shy, but we could still carry on normal lives and talk to our teachers and all of that. So that it wasn't fitting for me. So that's why I wanted to go with the occupational therapist and just get their take on it. And that was really the best thing for us, because they are asking us different questions. They weren't asking me, who does your child talk to? When does she talk? How loud is she speaking? They're asking me things like, does your child fall a lot? I'm like, she kind of does. She's a huge klutz. They're like, can she throw a ball? Like, no, she cannot figure out to put one foot forward and throw with the opposite arm. She can't do it. And they would ask, like, can she do a jumping jack? No. That child is so clueless on how to put her arms up and her legs up at the same time. She can't do it. And so that's got them thinking that there's something else going on developmentally that's triggering her anxiety. And so through different assessments and things, they had found that her vestibular system was underdeveloped. So basically, her body didn't know where it was in space. And that put anxiety on herself. And that, therefore, she became selectively mute from that anxiety of not knowing where her body was in space.
I always think, why do we think that body and mind are two separate things?
Right.
And I find that so fascinating what she did. I definitely want to meet and speak to this occupational therapist of yours, because I'm an avid reader, and I always read about learning and play and movement and space. And one of the activities that I do is balls. So we throw balls, we have a shower of balls, we have heavy balls, big balls, little balls, balls of every shape or size. And I then observe how the child is through just simple movement, because actually anxiety has a huge effect on the child moving. I have bean bags, those very big bean bags, and people can just throw themselves. Some kids can't even sit on them because they don't really know what to do. So
Yeah.
I wondered if she, then she was all of that. She didn't really have this, she didn't know where she was almost.
Mhm.
And that really had an impact on the motor strip in terms of the speech.
Yeah, and for me, it was a weird concept. Like, what do you mean you don't know where your body is in space? That makes no sense to me. But I don't have that problem, so I don't know what it's like. And the thing they did that really hit home with just how severe her issues were is it's called a spin board, and what they do is they place her on her side, and you get spun slowly. So a typical child can be spun 10 times without having too many issues with being dizzy. Their eyes will shake. It's the nystagmus, where their eyes go back and forth, and generally it goes back and forth per each time spun. So when they first started assessing my daughter, is they did one spin, and her eyes shook for 13 seconds from one spin. That is how severe her vestibular system was underdeveloped. And I get emotional talking about it because I had no idea. I had no idea that my poor little girl can't spin without having her eyes shake for so long. So
that's quite an experience, isn't it? It's almost like being thrown out of space and you're thinking, well, hang on, I've not done all the training to become a space woman.
Right.
So
and then another thing they did too is they held up like 2 different color markers, and they would say, look at the pink marker, now look at the purple marker. And as they traced her eyes, once they got to the midline, her eyes would jump. It was not a fluid motion. So, that's something that, if you're having a child that you think something's going on, is just have them do a simple exercise like that and watch and just see if there's that jump. And that can cause a lot of problems for reading, for being able to pay attention at school, because you're putting all that stress on your vestibular system and they can't handle it.
So I'm really curious for the people that are watching this. Comment below. Let us know, what is your experience? Can your child run or jump or do all sorts of things? There is an amazing center, which is the Selective Mutism Center, run by Dr. Eliza Shippen Bloom, and I'll put the links down below, in the States. And she talks a lot about sensory overload, sensory difficulties, children that they don't really like, they can't really deal with too much movement, too many smells, or they all their senses are heightened.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we need to realize that selective mutism is more than just the speech, and we really ought to look at the child, overall system.
Mm-hmm.
Where they are in this space. Can they do certain things? And then if they can, that's great.
Right.
But if they can't, we also need to work on it.
Yeah.
I say, can your child swim? Can your child go on a bike? Work on all sorts of other aspects rather than just the speech.
Mm-hmm.
So really then I guess that you've gone through a program very specific to help her with the understanding of her body in space.
Yeah, we utilize a lot of sensory tools. So like weighted vests, she would have that at school so she could feel that pressure and know where she is. We did a lot of like fidget tools and things so that she can arrange herself in a way that she's controlling and it's not just kind of free falling all over. And a lot of what they did was a lot of cross body movements and a lot of movements that changes your orientation. So like taking a ball, putting it between your legs, and then bringing it up and bending backwards and handing it to somebody and doing that over and over again so that your head is in all these different positions to help strengthen that vestibular system. So it's very simple, fun activities they did. They use a lot of like the exercise balls, a lot of swings, a lot of crawling, just very different ways to have her body so the system would get developed.
Wow. So what would you advise to parents that they're listening to us?
I would say go with your gut. If something doesn't sound right or feel right, push back a little bit. If somebody's telling you one thing and you're like, that doesn't apply to me, speak up and say something. I wish I would have done that at the beginning of, I don't have anxiety. My husband does not have anxiety. I don't think that my daughter's anxiety is from us. I think it's from something else. we would have saved ourselves 11 weeks of the wrong type of therapy. And really getting somebody who's asking the right questions, having a therapist listen to you. When I first sat down in our OT assessment, it was the first time I ever felt listened to. They were hearing what I was saying and they were understanding. They weren't judging me. They weren't saying, oh yeah, every kid with SM does that. They were really listening to my concerns and wanting to help me through that. So that's what I would tell people, don't give up either. Push back, do everything you can for your kids, be their voice.
So selective mutism then has become one of your mottos, and you've organized some amazing work. So tell us where we can find you and where can parents reach you. And you've got something really special coming up soon.
I do, yeah. So throughout my journey, I've wanted to come up with a way for parents to get support and to get resources, because there's resources all over and it takes a long time to find them. Trust me, it took me years. So what I recently done is I did develop a website. It's smhelp.org, and it's a place where parents, teachers, therapists, anybody can go to get information about selective mutism. You can find support groups, you can find books, you can find different treatment options out there. And one of the very exciting things I'm working on is the first ever Selective Mutism online summit. So I have people from all over the world that are being interviewed and talking with me about selective mutism and different topics on it. So it's free for people to register and watch. It's October 23rd through the 25th. And you can, again, hop on my website, smhelp.org, to get registered.
And we will put the link right below so you can see it. And this is just so exciting because there isn't enough knowledge, and we try to do all sorts of things. And I'm really excited that it's in October, because October, well, here in the UK and in Italy as well, is Selective Mutism Awareness Month. So I don't know if they've made the same for you in the States.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So if anything, is absolutely amazing that we can do something in October. However, I do believe that to do things throughout the year, not just in October. So otherwise, everything seems to be happening in October. But you're right, this is the first one we have had, some summits on speech therapy, and selective mutism was mentioned. But this is just everything about selective mutism. Can you imagine 3 full days of hearing so much about selective mutism? So please register just here in the link below. And we're just I'm fascinated to hear all about it. And I'll be there.
Yes, I was going to say, you'll see a familiar face if you register.
Yes, well, I will definitely be there, and that I can talk a lot. But above all, I will be there really to listen and learn. There is always so much to learn in every day. So something that I like to ask is, what is your word for communication?
I think that is such a great question. And I did some thinking on that. And my word is effective. There are so many ways to communicate, but it's not effective, then you're not communicating. So with a child with selective mutism, it's okay if they're pointing. It's okay if they're nodding, because that's their way to effectively communicate with you. And you need to be thankful for that and not keep pushing them to do something that they're not comfortable with, because then they can't communicate effectively.
Oh, wow. So communication is beyond words, and we really need to look at the next steps. So thank you so much, Kelly, for being here with us. I can't wait to see all the things that you're doing. And please comment below and let us know your thoughts.
I love to share the stories. So if you're a parent and you want to share your story with everyone else, please comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Email me, and don't forget to join me in my group on Facebook, Selective Mutism, My Child is Scared of Talking, and follow me on social media, and you will get all the links just here or below. You will get many videos like this in my channel, so remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share with those that you think might benefit. Every day's a new day, but you make your own sunshine. I'll see you next week.